But that's the weekend. And I knew there was so much in this weekend that I was like, do I want to do the ranking? Do I not want to? Should I do it? Should I not? Yeah, I'm going to do it. Why not? Why not? I like to keep these videos around anywhere from 20 to 30 minutes. It might be a little bit over that today. Sorry for the people, but the Echelon is here. The bi-weekly WNBA rankings. This one's kind of a tri-weekly little WNBA rankings, to be quite honest with you. We're going to show you what last times look like. This is after week 3. Give you the big view of it. After week 3, Minnesota, Atlanta, Dallas, Vegas, and the last ranks were from the preseason rankings that I had. So that was the last ranks that all of these teams had. So a lot of the teams I had actually were doing a little worse than I expected. Let's get into it. Let's see what we got here. Bottom, we've got the Seattle Storm down at 15. We've got the Connecticut Sun at 14. We've got the Phoenix Mercury at 13, the Chicago Sky at 12, and the Portland Fire at 11. This isn't only just a ranking off of where their standings and what their record is currently. This isn't only just a thing off of how they've played over the last 2 weeks and it's going off of that record. It's a mixture of what I've seen, how I've watched them play, the statistics, what that statistical profile will say as well. And plus also, there's a little bit always a projection of how do you think this team is going to develop and continue to go on over this next stretch here too. That's how I do mine. It's different than just a power ranking of, oh, for the last week, this team did this. That's not what we do here. And that's not what I do. The Storm, they have to be at 15 because they haven't won a game, but I do like some of the trajectory of what they're going. They're just really inconsistent. Again, as I was talking about when we were going through the games, they will lose by 20 here, and then they'll play an overtime thriller. The Sky are another team. We'll talk about them in a second. I looked at the Sky instead of saying the Sun. The Sun, they play teams tough. They just unfortunately don't have the talent. Phoenix hasn't been playing great basketball. They'll play it here in spurts here, spurts there, but they're a team. They're one of the more disappointing teams of the year because they feel like they should be a team that's within the top 7 right now, but they're not playing that well. But they can turn it around still. There's still time. The Chicago Sky, I know they have only won one game over this last little bit since the last one, which was on June 1st, but they've been playing such close games against high-level opponents. I think that they're actually playing a little bit better than these other teams right now. And if they were into a series, if you said, hey, a 3-game series with these teams, I would take the Chicago Sky to beat them, Phoenix Mercury, the Connecticut Sun, and the Seattle Storm. And then Portland at 11. They, as an expansion team does, they don't have the most of talent, so sometimes they can go ebbs and flows when they're falling and then they're getting on transition and playing well. Sarah Ashley Barker's been playing well for them. When that's going well, the team's playing really well. When not, sometimes it doesn't work at the same. To get to number 10, Toronto Tempo. Losing Kiki Rice and Brittany Sachs going tough. They're at 10 last time. Marina Raby's been playing well. You get Sabally back, but it's kind of tough. It's kind of tough when you have to deal with the injuries that they are, but they're still a team that they get some of these players back. Maybe not Brittany, but they get Kiki back at some point in time. They can still make a playoff run. The Sparks, they have been dealing with injuries too. Kelsey Plum hasn't played every game over the stretch. They're still trying to get to full health. Cameron Brink hasn't played every game over the stretch too. So the Sparks at full health, I think, are one of the 8 best teams in the league, but they can't play around because the teams like the Valkyries and the Mystics. So the Valkyries have moved down a little bit from their previous spot of 7, so really just one step back, and that's just because of how well the Mystics have played, especially as of late, beating the Liberty, beating the Lynx, 2 of the top 5 teams easily in the WNBA right now. You have those kind of wins with the late game stretches, Sonia Citron, obviously, and another different from those games, the fadeaway turnaround jumper for the win, too. They get into these late game situations and spots, and the Mystics play well. And the Valkyries in these late game situations, they play well, they play hard, they play physical. They just don't always have that go-to scorer that they can give it to. Veronica Burton or Gabby Williams is supposed to be that. Maybe Vanda Lucini has been coming alive more. Salon has been playing well too. So they have some players, but I just think the Mystics have been playing a little bit better basketball than the Valkyries over this last stretch. Obviously, one's 5-3, one's 5-4. The Mystics could even have moved ahead of the Indiana Fever, but I keep the Indiana Fever at 6, keep the Mystics at 7, have the Fever move up 1 spot. I think that they were stringing along some very good basketball. They obviously ran into a Dream team that they just do not match up with well. They really don't match up with the Dream well. So in the playoffs, that would be a very tough matchup for them. Last year, they were able to best the Dream. I think it was just they didn't have Angel Reese on that roster, and I just think they've got an added level of urgency on that Dream team. So, tough. But now we do get into the top 5. At 5, Dallas. They were last time they were 3. They have now moved down to 5 just because these other teams ahead of them have been playing really good. But they've been playing really good basketball as well. It's just they've been winning games that they almost should lose, and the games that they would have lost last year. They don't beat the Storm last year in the game like that. They just collapse and they lose. They don't beat the Sky like they did. They just collapse and they lose. During this stretch too, I know it's because it's been a little bit. They did beat the Aces by 20. They did play them very well, play them very tough. They've struggled against the Lynx this year. Hopefully they'll be able to get a W there. But we will see. I think the Dallas Wings, though, have been playing good basketball, but not as good as basketball as they've started because a couple of these other teams there. The Dream are down, and I know that in the ESPN ranking that the Dream are at the top because you beat Caitlin Clark and the Indiana Fever a couple times in a couple days, and that's there. But this is over the totality of everything, and I think the Dream could be higher. This is the one team that, if you argued with me, could be over these other 3 teams. This one's the one that you could jostle with me a bit, and I would be fine with. But I have them at 4 for a few reasons. One, because I think they have been playing well, but I want to give credit to these other teams that have also been playing at their caliber and at their level too. And I think right now, with the way that these teams are playing, they would win some of these matchups. I mean, at 3, I've got the New York Liberty. I just think the New York Liberty are still, even though they're still not at peak, they are still finding their way and they're still playing high level basketball. I know they lost to the Mystics recently, but other than that Mystics loss, what have they done over the last little bit? Before the Mystics, before the Sparks, they were on a big winning streak. They were on a 7-game winning streak where they beat Atlanta by 14, where they beat Indiana over that stretch, where they beat Washington over that stretch before Washington got the better of them. They had that close win against the Chicago Sky. So I get that over the last couple games, they have obviously faltered. One was on a game winner to Nneka, and the other one was on a really close game that they lost to the Mystics. But overall, during this whole stretch, they have been playing very good basketball. So that's where this comes in. You have to remember this has been a couple weeks in the making there. Minnesota Lynx at 2, which means the Aces are at 1. I have the Minnesota Lynx at 2 and the Aces at 1 because they did play head-to-head. The Aces did get the better of the Lynx. I think the way the Aces are playing basketball right now, that they are playing like the best team in the league. But to be quite honest with you, I think the top 4 teams right now would be in one tier. I think the Wings and the Fever would be in the next tier, with probably honestly the Mystics and the Valkyries. The Sparks in their own tier, and then there'd be a couple tiers after that. I think all of these top 4 teams are pretty much on the same tier and same level right now. They're just, the Liberty are not whole, the Lynx are not whole, the Aces are playing really well, and the Dream are not fully whole. So, but all of those teams are playing extremely good basketball. Extremely good basketball. So, these are the top 15. This is the echelon of the WNBA after week 6. We've got the Aces at 1, the Minnesota Lynx at 2, the Liberty at 3, the Dream at 4, the Wings at 5, the Fever at 6, the Washington Mystics at 7, the Valkyries at 8, the Chicago Sky at 9, the Toronto Tempo at 10, the Portland Fire at 11, Chicago Sky at 12, the Phoenix Mercury at 13, the Connecticut Sun at 14, and the Seattle Storm at 15. Man, a lot of stuff. And obviously, you can break that down much more and dive deeper and deeper into those numbers. But This list is a fluid list. You'll see it come and go as the year goes on. We'll see when the next one comes out. There's been so much talk and information and such that I was like, oh my God, I'm going to wait on this a little bit. But I figured I'd get it out today. The Echelon is here.